On this episode of Drug Wars, Guatemala is caught in the middle of the world's biggest cocaine trafficking route, and it's taking a heavy toll in both the capital and the provinces.
Abra la puerta.
In response, Guatemalan law enforcement goes on a nationwide crackdown to rein in the booming local drug market. The war on drugs is now a global fight. Drug Wars is along for the ride, capturing this high-stakes battle as it plays out on land, at sea, and in the air. From the surge in cocaine trafficking between Colombia and Guatemala, to President Duterte's controversial clampdown on dealers and users in the Philippines. As dangerous new drug routes open in North Africa and Europe, as cartels and other major criminal syndicates dig in, we take you to today's front lines. This is Drug Wars. Almost all of the world's cocaine is produced in just 3 countries: Bolivia, Peru, and above all, Colombia. Combined, these 3 countries cultivate enough coca leaf to produce over 1,000 tons of cocaine every year. And demand is keeping up with supply. Today, there are booming cocaine markets in places as spread apart as Brazil, Europe, and Asia. But the world's #1 consumer is still the United States. To get cocaine from its main producers in the Andes to its main consumers in North America, traffickers have carved out an ever-evolving system of routes through Central America and Mexico. And almost all routes to the U.S. pass through the small Central American nation of Guatemala. With each new year, more of that cocaine is staying there, and it's affecting the lives of ordinary citizens everywhere. The tsunami of cocaine washing through Guatemala has transformed the country. Guatemala's murder rate is one of the highest in the world, with over 4,500 homicides a year, half of them directly tied to the drug trade. Mexican cartels who control the cocaine flow through Central America enlist ruthless Guatemalan maras, or gangs, as their violent foot soldiers.
El narcomenudeo aproximadamente inició en Guatemala aproximadamente hace como, no tengo mal memoria, unos 15 años. Pero ¿a qué se deriva? Como le digo, desde mi punto de vista, se deriva a las deportaciones que han habido de Estados Unidos. En Estados Unidos hubo una gran deportación de pandillas. Vienen a tomar fuerza las pandillas aquí en Guatemala a raíz de esas grandes deportaciones. Y si hablamos de pandillas o de maras, estamos hablando de crimen organizado.
Guatemalan maras have been paid handsomely by Mexican cartels in the form of cocaine. And now, they're turning that powder into hard cash by feeding addictions across the country, supplying locals and tourists alike. They enforce cartel drug routes and massacre anyone who gets in their way, including rival maras. Worse still, they've expanded their criminal reach to include extortion, prostitution, and human trafficking. But it's still principally drugs that finance them. Guatemala's Attorney General, Thelma Aldana, who won international praise for fighting government corruption, is now setting her sights on these maras and their main source of income.
Cuando yo asumí como fiscal general de la República, tenía mucha claridad e iniciamos una lucha contra el narcotráfico, el crimen organizado, las extorsiones. Estamos tratando de hacer nuestro trabajo, combate frontal al narcotráfico.
The criminal tentacles of the maras reach everywhere, from Guatemala's gritty capital to sleepy tourist towns like Flores in the north. Located near the ancient Mayan ruins of Tikal, this small lakeside town is known as a quiet, peaceful place, but it too has seen an uptick in smuggling and criminal activity. Near the center of town, special anti-narcotics agents are about to rendezvous before hitting a hotel, believed to be operating as a front for Mara-supplied drug dealers. Led by head of counter-narcotics, Aldo Chapas, the team gathers to review their intel before the mission. Their plan is to send 3 undercover cops to the back patio of the hotel, where they believe local maras and others who work for them are selling cocaine.
Le decía yo que el narcomenudeo no tarda más de un minuto como para hacerse de la evidencia que puedan tener.
Sí, es que lo que pasa es que fíjese que ahí
A ella, a la que vamos a ir ahorita, ya se le había entrado. El asunto está que ahí hay que entrarle de una vez. Y entrando hay que irnos al patio de atrás.
It's a risky operation. The patio is only accessible via a narrow alleyway, so there is just one way out, and it's easily cut off. On the other hand, if they can generate a sale, they'll have probable cause to search the premises and possibly uncover a stash house. With preparations complete, the 3 undercover agents approach the location. One of them has agreed to wear a hidden camera for us. Maras, like the infamous Barrio 18, are known to specifically target police officers. If they smell something fishy, these undercover officers are likely to be ambushed and killed before reinforcements can arrive. On missions like this, officers know full well the risks, and as they head into the alley, there is now no turning back. To find out just how prevalent cocaine has become on the streets of Guatemala City, we sent our camera crew with a pin camera hidden in a pair of glasses.
All right, I think I'm ready.
With little guidance from local sources, they want to see how quickly they can score cocaine on a sleepy Tuesday night.
Hola, ¿tienes pases?
Hola. ¿Tienen servicio?
¿Tienes pases?
No, mi amor, allá abajo se pone el muchacho.
¿Allá abajo?
Ajá, está en una moto, si no está del lado de la farmacia, está de este lado en una moto.
Ok, gracias.
Within minutes, they're headed towards a possible dealer. It's a dangerous assignment. The vast majority of murders in Guatemala go unpunished, so potential killers can act with impunity. With plentiful supply of guns in Guatemala City, if a dealer suspects our crew of being cops, things could escalate quickly.
Pregunto. Brother, ¿qué tal? Brother, estoy buscando un pase.
¿Sí?
¿Un pase?
125.
125, ok.
¿De vuelta?
Ah,
¿Querés vuelto? Cabal.
tengo vuelto. Necesito vuelto, sí, tengo 200.
The dealer lowers his guard, and figuring our buyer is a harmless tourist, offers up the quick sale.
Antes era difícil encontrar un narcomenudeo aquí en la ciudad de Guatemala. Ahora todos es sabidos, la zona 9, zona 10, discotecas, escuelas, colegios, es donde se ha determinado que hay narcomenudeo de cocaína.
Trafficking cocaine up the rest of Central America and Mexico is a costly and dangerous endeavor. So by the time a gram is sold in the US, it will cost much more than $16. For users here, closer to the drug's origin, it's a relatively cheap high. And the ease of the transaction only underscores how plentiful cocaine has become as a result of Guatemala's location smack in the middle of trafficking routes to the US. Just how plentiful? A recent bust by police in Guatemala yielded 400 kilos of cocaine, and today, their lab in Guatemala City will carry out a series of tests on the drug shipment. The authorities are hoping to trace the cocaine back to its origins. By measuring its purity and chemical composition, they can determine if the drug was produced in Colombia, Bolivia, or Peru. Colombian cocaine producers, usually working in makeshift labs near coca plantations, often use acetone to crystallize cocaine, whereas Peruvian producers tend to use methyl ethyl ketone, or MEK, instead. After thorough testing, these chemists conclude that the shipment originated in Colombia, and that the cocaine is between 93% and 97% pure.
En este exhorto se indica que el día de hoy se va a analizar y se van a incinerar 400 kilos de cocaína.
Armed guards travel in convoys to transport the drugs to a new location, always on high alert to prevent attacks and carjackings from traffickers. 400 kilos of pure Colombian cocaine translates to a street price in the US of $40 million once cut for sale. It's an impressive haul, but in order to catch all of the cocaine pouring in from South America, Guatemalan authorities would need almost 70 buses like this one a month. The grim reality is that most cocaine will enter undetected. The criminals profiting from this cocaine flow are Guatemalan maras, who have never been better organized.
por la fuerza operatividad que ellos tienen, por la logística que ellos tienen, porque las maras aquí están organizadas, así como está organizada la Policía Nacional Civil, desde su estructura para abajo. Y yo considero que esto se va a ir acrecentando. A partir de, si el nuevo presidente de Estados Unidos cumple la promesa que van a haber más deportaciones de mexicanos.
Deported gang members brought with them the expertise learned from dealing with cocaine in U.S. cities. Aligned with Mexican cartels, they're behind almost every ounce of cocaine in Guatemala's streets. Guatemalan law enforcement wants to bring this bloody era to an end.
Que nuestro país no va a ser utilizado por el narcotráfico para llegar a México o para llegar a Estados Unidos.
They'll settle for nothing less than a wide net of arrests on the leadership of Major Maras. But to do so, they have to start at the street level and work their way further up the chain. Today is a first step in a painstaking process to shut down these large-scale criminal outfits. Coming up next, undercover officers in Flores, Guatemala risk their lives in hopes of finding a key cocaine stash supplied by the Maras. Plus, another group of anti-narcotic agents acts on the intel that a suspicious restaurant may be selling a lot more than just food. In Flores, Guatemala, a group of undercover agents is about to infiltrate a hotel that they suspect is a front for drug dealing. But the mission is just one part of a nationwide crackdown on street-level dealing.
Creo que el mensaje es claro. Estamos luchando contra la narcoactividad, que cada día fortalecemos y mejoramos las herramientas de investigación, las herramientas de combate al narcotráfico. Ese es el mensaje. Guatemala no debe ser un país ni de tránsito ni de consumo de drogas.
Elsewhere in the province, police look to execute a search warrant on a restaurant that they suspect is also acting as a front, part of a growing number of clandestine drug businesses taking over the local economy.
Pues aquí es una diligencia judicial, ¿ya? Necesitamos su documento de DPI suyo y la partida de nacimiento de usted.
¿Para qué lo quiere?
Señor, necesitamos su DPI, colabore, por favor, ¿sí?
Sí, yo sé que voy a colaborar.
Vaya, entonces colabore, pues, por favor. Vaya, la está...
Sí, pero no, tampoco no como que uno fuera delincuente.
Es que no, aquí nadie es delincuente, señor.
¿Empezamos?
Police begin a methodical, room-by-room search of her adjacent living quarters, where she also sells clothes.
Esta es la ropa que trae usted, ¿no?
Ahí también hay más ropa de la que venden ustedes. No soy de aquí, yo dejé a mi hijo para venir a vender.
¿Sus hermanos qué tal se portan? Han estado detenidos.
Yo no le puedo decir porque ya le dije que no vivo aquí, acabo de venir.
No le puedo decir, es como que tal vez sí. Le dije, si usted nos ayuda, le ayudamos.
Through the province, people like this woman wear many hats, selling food, clothes, and sometimes drugs, in a desperate attempt to make ends meet. As the search intensifies, the woman and her family grow anxious, and she begins to get testy with the officers.
No se preocupe, solo vamos a ver qué es lo que tiene.
Finally, beneath her mattress, they find a stash.
No, ¿para qué van a registrar? Pueden registrar donde quiera, pero eso es lo que hay.
¿Qué hay?
La marihuana que está ahí.
Está bien, mire, así me gusta. Mire, seamos honestos. Seamos honestos.
Police have to confront the fact that this bust wasn't what they were looking for. Acting on intel and hoping to find cocaine, they nevertheless have to charge her for possessing nearly a kilo of marijuana. Worth less than $1,000 in some U.S. cities, it could still land her 3 to 6 years in prison here.
Porque ese es mi mío que es, pero yo me voy a hacer cargo. ¿Sabe por qué? Porque en primer lugar yo soy hija de Dios y a mí no me interesa eso. Simplemente si ustedes me quieren llevar, Dios sabe por qué, pero no era mío. No importa, llévenme. Yo como le voy a evangelizar, voy a la cárcel. Sí, a evangelizar voy a ir a la cárcel, no te preocupes.
Contrary to their intel, this woman is likely not associated with Maras, but rather a small business owner who felt she needed to supplement her income and got creative. It's a tragic mistake, and police have no choice but to arrest her for it. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, agents move in to buy drugs from suspected dealers. They hope their cover won't be blown. As the cops prepare to make the buy, they're surprised by a young boy.
Hola. Buenas, señor. ¿Cómo le va?
He's being used as a runner,
Yo. ¿Qué me decían que aquí se podía?
and his presence adds a new tragic twist to this mission. Anti-narcotics agents storm in to secure the scene and make arrests. The police begin a thorough search to secure any other drugs that may be on the premises.
Perfecto.
But in the end, a few ounces of low-quality weed is all they find. Much like the restaurant from before, this is not the major score they were hoping for. Nevertheless, the hotel's owner may be facing jail time if convicted of facilitating the sale of drugs on her property. Soon after, agents confront another unpleasant reality. This innocent minor, the owner's young son, may now have to be separated from his mom and placed in state care. There is a bitter irony here. Both the restaurant and the hotel likely sold much of their marijuana to tourists from the US, where pot is increasingly legal. What the tourists don't realize is that the same drug is ruining lives in Guatemala, as US-funded counter-narcotics operations often sweep up impoverished local dealers instead of the Maras who prey on them. Today's agents started the day hoping to put a dent in cocaine sales and turn the tables on the Maras. They have to confront the possibility that the Maras were one step ahead of them and fed them intel that led them to small local dealers and off their trail. Now, it's their move. Can authorities regroup in time to salvage this operation and make an important seizure? In northern Guatemala, 2 raids, initiated as part of a nationwide crackdown, resulted only in small marijuana busts. In both, authorities were left to ask themselves if they were working off of faulty intelligence. Perhaps the Maras knowingly led them to small local players in order to distract the police from bigger loads and heavier narcotics elsewhere.
El esfuerzo que hay que hacer, por supuesto, es muy grande. Nos falta mucho camino por recorrer, pero quizás estamos dando los primeros pasos en la vía correcta de la lucha contra el narcotráfico.
¿Qué es esto? Mire, por enfrente está el AME, aquí mire.
This group of agents is heading to a house in a remote location that they believe is closely tied to the Maras and sources much of the cocaine dealing in the area.
Por muy sencillo que se vea un inmueble, uno no sabe en qué momento lo pueda sorprender. Porque el que está haciendo algo ilícito siempre está con aquello de que rato menos lo sorprenden. Por eso vivo en la jugada, como hablamos en estos términos, ¿no? Ya izquierdo. Hasta la casa. Ajá.
One agent agrees to equip himself with spy glasses.
¿Sí? Y automático ya va grabando. Dale un poquito adelantito. Aquí está mano izquierda, mano derecha. Este, ¿ve? Dale un poquito, dale un poquito. Ahí nomás, ahí nomás. ¿Esta es la casa, eh?
Agents have a warrant, but the occupants of the house won't let them in.
Sí, ¿oh? Ahí está, ¿ve? Ahí están meneando, ¿eh? Boten la puerta. Abra la puerta. ¿Está ahí, pues? Voy aquí.
The protections on the house are deceptively simple, but they're enough to buy the occupants time. As every second passes, the suspects can potentially get rid of more and more drugs that may be inside.
¿Ya está aquí?
Once enough time has passed, and knowing there's no escape, the occupants finally open the door. Police are not happy about the delay.
¿Y por qué ella se dio cuenta que éramos policías y no abrió?
No lo aceptaban mucho.
¿Ah?
Agents know that if there were drugs, these suspects tried to get rid of them. They begin their search accordingly.
Ahí hay que rondear el área porque... No, aquí lo que pasa es que lo que hacen es que la tiran. Ajá. Lo que hacen es que la hacen humo. ¿Por qué no habría? ¿Ah? ¿Por qué no habría?
Porque me asusté, mano, pensando que... Yo estoy atendiendo a ese y ahorita estaba con un dolor, pensando en llevarlo al hospital.
After a thorough search, the officers have come up empty-handed. Based on their intelligence, they know there is cocaine here, and they're determined to find it. They decide to get creative.
Aquí, la salida de los drenajes, ¿dónde están?
No sé, eso es que la estoy.
Es que ahí está. Aquí hay un grillo, creo. Mira, aquí hay bolsita. ¿Está bien, Nick?
They retrieve a packet of what could be cocaine, potentially the first of several, and decide to follow the path of the drain in order to find the rest.
Fíjese que aquí no salió nada, pero el agua viene con presión, entonces es al otro lado.
Finally, their persistence and their clever detective work pays off.
Bien, acá hay bolsas, vos. Ay.
They find several packets like this one, which are later confirmed to be cocaine and several thousands in cash, believed to be drug money. More importantly, they started this operation because they're on the hunt for maras, and with cocaine in the picture, the trail is now heating up.